Welcome to a special edition of Business Mentorship, Keepin It Real, in collaboration with Grow Your Biz, an international organization that supports female entrepreneurs through peer-to-peer advisory boards. And with me today, I'd like to introduce you to Bobbi Jo Matheson, who is an experienced tattoo artist with training as a permanent makeup artist and paramedical applications. She is the founder and instructor at the College of Body Art in Grand Prarie, Alberta, and owner of Cee8ive Ink Body Studio. Bobbi Jo is a proud Beaver First Nation NAB member. She is a recipient of the Leading Edge Award from the local Chamber of Commerce. And Bobbi Jo is best described as a serial entrepreneur and an active member in a GroYourBiz Board. Welcome.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
You know what? I have to say that as a supporter of obviously the visual arts and personal interpretation, I've really been looking forward to hearing your story and how you became involved as being a tattoo artist.
It was not a conscious decision. I guess I've always been artistic. Our whole family is artistic. But I kind of just fell into it. It wasn't a conscious plan of my life. I actually wanted to be a lawyer my whole life.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's actually the career plan I had for myself ever since I was young. I actually was at a birthday party for my brother, and being an artist, you kind of always have it in the back of your mind that you could get into tattooing, but it's a really hard industry to get into if you don't really know anybody in the industry or a way to get your foot in the door. So my brother had this tattoo party at his house, and I said to him, hey, let me try this. And my brother loves me and I'm a brat, so he let me tattoo him, and that was my
wow. I hope it wasn't permanent.
It was an actual tattoo. It was a couple initials, but I ended up covering it up later. But anyways, the tattoo artist at the time was very experienced, and he was professional and clean and everything. And he called me a natural and gave me my first machine and told me where to order, and away I went.
Wow.
So, yeah, I actually started, I tattooed from my home for about 4.5 years. And then it got really busy, and it got to the point where I was starting to not know the people that were being referred to me or who they were referred by.
Right.
So it started to get a little uncomfortable at that point where these strangers were coming to my home, and
Right.
yeah, so then I just decided that, hey, maybe it was time to move this out of my home. So I started looking for office spaces. That was my original plan, was just to get a small one office area in Grand Prarie. And unfortunately, the spaces that were suitable for Alberta Health Services wouldn't rent to a tattoo artist 7 years ago in Grand Prairie.
Wow.
Yeah, and the ones that would did not have hardwood floors, and they didn't have sinks in the rooms. So I kind of had a dilemma. What do I do? Do I go big or do I go home? Well, I had just come from home, so I don't want to go back there.
Right.
So I sat down with my family, and I have a large family and a very strong support system with my mom and my son and various relatives. And I sat down with them and I said, okay, well, what do I do? Do we do this, or do I open up a shop, or what? And so yeah, Cee8ive Ink was born.
Wow.
Yeah, so I started that 7 years ago, and it was just me. And at the time, I was a corporate territory manager for Parkland Industries out of Red Deer. And so I was managing 13 convenience stores, working 60, 70 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I would come and tattoo evenings and weekends in my new shop. Did that for about 10 months. I finally secured another tattoo artist, and then we just kind of kept growing from there.
Wow.
Yeah, and I
love the fact that you kind of took your what we would traditionally call a side hustle to mainstream. So you kind of transitioned once you'd had your own physical space. Where did you find the other tattoo artists? Like what kind of journey was that in hiring another specialist in your field?
It's I tried to, in that 4.5 year period of working at my house, I did try to work at two other tattoo shops in town. But my personality didn't mix with the first one, and it didn't actually last very long. It closed its doors shortly after. So because with the unfortunate reality of tattoo shops and business, just because you're a tattoo artist doesn't mean that your business will be successful. You still need business skills to keep a viable business open. And so that one unfortunately didn't last. And then the second one that I tried out, I did weekends there briefly, and then I met some other tattoo artists through there. So that's how I met my other artist, and then they shut down. So he ended up coming to work for me when they closed. So it was actually just the way that it worked out, and he's actually been with me since then. So for the last 7 years.
Isn't that amazing? I love those collaborative relationships, right? Because, you know, like they say, we meet people in life for a reason, and sometimes we have no idea who's going to sort of open the first door for us and give us an opportunity, and then you can sort of help them along the way as well. So that's a really cool story. Now, tell me a little bit about the school, because you've made a huge commitment to your industry, right? So you transitioned from what we would call corporate into entrepreneurship. You know, you've started your own shop because of various different circumstances. And then you made a huge leap of faith and decided to really help other folks in the industry by opening the school. Yeah. So tell us, what was the inspiration behind that?
Unfortunately, that was the decision to start a tattoo school actually was the result of two parts. The first one was actually kind of a very self-defeating, like it was a very defeating realization because of those two parts. And the first one was I was getting really bad migraines, and the migraines were they were starting to be debilitating, like where they were affecting my daily life. They were happening multiple times a day. I was starting to get really concerned about it, and it was to the point where I was starting to have to cancel appointments, like literally on the spot, just before I was about to tattoo. I finally have medication for that. That's fantastic. So my doctor has solved that issue. I'm on anti-seizure medication now, but one of the other issues was my eyesight is actually getting worse. So when I realized that, forced me to realize that I was not going to be the international tattoo artist that I thought I was going to be, and I know that I'm capable of. So then I'm pretty bullheaded. I can't lose. So I decided, like, well, what am I going to do to stay in the industry? I've already got this shop, and I don't want to quit. I'm not going to quit, and I'm not going to fail. So what do I do? So then I started remembering back, the 7 years ago, I've been tattooing now for 11 years. So I remember learning on my own, and there wasn't YouTube, there wasn't videos, there weren't tutorials. And in fact, the industry was incredibly guarded, and it was very, very aggressive. So if you weren't affiliated with a shop and you're trying to learn how to tattoo, in fact, they kind of turned you away, and they weren't very nice about it. So when I started learning, I remember how difficult it was to learn on your own. So I started remembering those struggles that I had, and I said, well, hey, then I started researching the rest of the world. And unfortunately, the reality is that Canada is behind globally about 10 years in the tattoo and piercing industry. So we have little to no standardization, any kind of regulations aside from what Alberta Health does. And they're fantastic. But in terms of like licensing and training requirements, for example, there's probably at least 50% of the US states require some kind of proof of training before you can be a tattoo artist. And then in fact, in Oregon now, they no longer recognize the traditional apprenticeships. It's facilities like mine that are required to become a tattoo artist in the States. And that's becoming more and more evident in the UK as well. So I saw an opportunity that I could utilize my existing skills and experience to tap into another market that's related directly to my existing field. And so we are now Canada's first and only post-secondary tattoo training. Like
Fantastic.
We're the only one in Canada.
Fantastic. So tell me a little bit about your students, because clearly if you're the only accredited school in Canada, then you must get a really diverse background of students. And what are the ages? Are they, sort of young people? Does it come from all different walks of life?
Mostly younger. They're mostly younger. I would say probably. We are also, with our license that took me, almost 2 years to get. So the normal process to register a training program in Alberta is 8 weeks. It took me almost 2 years because this had never been done before.
Right?
Yeah. And so the students the age range. The other thing is the policy with my training program is we don't want to take individuals from high school. So we don't take anybody that's 18, like minors. They have to be 18
Right.
years and older and at least 1 year out of school. And the
Right.
reason why is because we don't want to take them out of traditional the educational system,
Sure.
because that's going to just promote not finishing, right? So
Sure.
need
For sure.
and so if they don't make it as a tattoo artist, then I think the oldest one that we've gotten was like early 30s. So. Surprisingly, we've only had one male student so far. But we've
Really?
yeah. It's usually it's female,
Wow.
surprisingly, which is kind of strange because this is historically been a male dominated
I was
industry.
going to say, yeah, male dominated industry for sure.
Yeah, but
Wow.
yeah, so it's been a mix, but we've only been in operation for about a year and a half, and then no, actually about 2 years, but then COVID kind of
Yeah.
COVID
Let's
affected
put a
us.
wrench in that. Yeah, for
For
sure.
about a year, we were unable to hold any courses because we're mandated by Advanced Education and Alberta Health, like jointly. So
Right. And I would assume really that they need to be on hand in studio, because how else are you going to be able to really, provide them with that real-time experience? It's a little difficult to do over Zoom, right? Like you really need them to be.
there's a lot of training courses that you can get online, and a lot of them are free. The problem with those ones, and this is just my personal opinion, but with tattooing, it's one thing to watch the video, but it's an entirely different animal when you can actually sit there and be shown what you're watching and
Sure.
and be corrected as you go. So for my
Right.
students, I tell every one of my students, I expect you to be better than me within a year or 2 years. I want you to be better than me within a year or 2 years, because that's the whole purpose of this course, is me giving you 10 years of do's and don'ts. Like,
Right.
I mean, almost 11 years. I just started my 11th year, I think, in September. So, but yeah, like you're not going to have to struggle with what not to do, because I'm going to tell you what not to do, right? So you're
Sure.
already a leg up, so there's no reason why you can't, you're literally jumping the gun, essentially, with your.
So how long is your course? So if I was interested in becoming a tattoo artist, I'm sure that people in our viewing and listening audience may know of someone who's interested in the field. How long would it take if they showed up on your doorstep in Grand Prairie, they were accepted by your program? When they graduate, what's the time frame from the arrival to departure, so to speak?
Okay, so to put this into perspective, a traditional apprenticeship in a shop is roughly about 240 hours a year of time that the tattoo artist, that's your mentor, would be allotting to you out of their days. My course is 750 hours. So, yeah, so triple what you would get in a standard apprenticeship. So it's a 6-month full-time program. But the difference between my program and the old way of doing it, of learning, is that mine is exceptionally comprehensive. So you'll find aspects of our program that don't even exist in a traditional apprenticeship. We teach photography, we teach bookkeeping, we have a lawyer that comes in, we have Alberta Health come in. We also have we teach bloodborne pathogens, which isn't even a requirement by anybody but me. And then we also include standard first aid. We have, there's so many components to our course that, like I said, you never even get, because it's a career. It's not
Right.
just about art. It's permanent artwork, but it's still a profession, and you still
Yes.
need professionals, right?
Yeah, and I love that you're incorporating the business of the business because, to the point that you made earlier, there's lots of folks that have a passion for a particular thing. So, whether it's architecture or the creative arts or even photography, but they if they're going to open their own business, they need to know the business of the business, right?
Absolutely.
It's one thing to have this wonderful creative talent, but it's a totally different thing to, at the end of the year, know that you've made money or where you want to go in terms of your future planning, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we tried to give them a well-rounded education, I guess, training of the career itself,
Right.
so that there's no surprises when they leave. Because I remember when I first started tattooing, I had no idea even how the financial aspect of it was. And then you can get a very, but I'm one of those people that I research a lot. I research everything when I get into something. I don't half-ass anything. So I knew that I had to claim the income. I knew that I had to
Sure.
keep receipts. And I also knew that I was going to be a contractor and not an employee. My students, however, the general public doesn't even know that tattoo artists are contractors and they're not employees. So it's my duty as an instructor of this program to make sure that there's no surprises to them when they leave here. So.
Well, that's I think I love the fact that you're giving them a really well-rounded perspective. They come to you with a natural talent and they hone those skills, but when they leave, they also have the opportunity to go and work for someone else and actually be able to probably navigate a contract or an agreement with a potential employer that's going to be win-win.
Yep.
So that really adds a lot of professionalism to your industry. Now, one of the things that you mentioned was that you had at one time wanted to be an international tattoo artist, and you did, overcome some obstacles and opened the school. So tell me about your personal experience as a tattoo artist. Is there one particular image that you've drawn? Because I know a little about the industry where you see these wonderful sleeves that people have, or these back tattoos, and they're done in phases. I mean, the human body can't sort of sit for that whole time and have, all that color and all of that sort of thing. So is there a particular image or client that you've had where you're really proud of the tattooing that you've done with that individual?
I think that more and more people are starting to, the general public, I guess, is starting to comprehend how powerful tattoos are. I mean, they help people's self-esteem, for the memorials, for the loss and grief. People get mantras. And for hair loss, the paramedical stuff is phenomenal, that we do as well. But one of the ones that really sticks out for me is this lady had a horrible accident when she was about 10 years old, and her leg was quite disfigured from being run over, actually, by a vehicle, and she had never worn shorts in her life because of this massive scar on her leg. And anyways, she had come to me one day in our shop, and she said that she had visited a number of tattoo artists and none of them would touch it. So I did, not out of arrogance, but out of because I like helping people. I really do. I have an inherent need, maybe not a need, but a desire to. I like helping people. It makes my heart feel happy.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah, it definitely does. And you know what? I've been blessed with a skill that can potentially change somebody's life. And in this instance, it actually did. So I ended up doing this tattoo for her, and we did it over multiple sessions, as you mentioned, because this scar tissue is so sensitive and it's fragile, and it takes extra care compared to intact and healthy skin. So anyways, it was actually her brother. It was actually her brother that was driving the vehicle, and they were both like children. And when he saw the tattoo that I did on her leg, and now it gave something, like, we're not wizards, and we're not magical. Like, we can't erase the scar, but we can give you something to look at aside from the scar. So that's the first thing that you look at. Anyways, when he saw her tattoo, she told me that he started crying. because it was, every time he saw her leg, it was a reminder that he had caused that injury. And then she started wearing shorts again. She went to the gym and she was wearing shorts, and
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, that was incredibly powerful for her too, and it was life changing. And so when she was telling me about this, it was like, I did that, and it was such an immense pride to have impacted somebody's life that way, just from, and to me, it's a simple thing. It was a simple thing because tattooing comes easy to me after all these years now. But yeah, that was probably one of the most memorable tattoos that I've had the honor of completing, because she trusted me, and it takes a lot of trust to be able to tattoo, to trust somebody to tattoo you in general. And then
for sure,
for such a large leg piece like that, and then to just, work with me on it over several sessions. It took almost a year to complete it. So
I bet there's a consultation process that happens when, somebody comes in the door and they, wanting a tattoo is only, the desire is only the beginning of the process, because then they have to decide the time commitment, the monetary commitment, and what image they'd actually like to have drawn. So, do you is, in terms of percentage of business, is most of the things that you do freehand, or is there a stencil process? I know that there's various different techniques that incorporate a number of different, various different deliverables. So how does that work if someone comes in the door and is just looking to have a tattoo and they don't really know what they want, what image they want?
There aren't a lot of tattoo artists that actually will do actual freehand. So actual freehand is incredibly risky, because you don't have a guide. You're just kind of trusting your own marker skills, essentially. So I'm going to say probably 9.9 tattoo artists will use a stencil, and that's a pre-drawn image that they put onto the skin. And there's some planning and discussion that's involved in that with the client. Sometimes they'll drop an image without the input of the client, but then the client still has the final say, because we are no longer in the 90s, 80s, 90s, where the tattoo artist is the boss. It's the customer has now, the industry has changed. So the customer is fully aware that this is my time, my body, my pain. This is permanent. I own this piece. You don't, kind of thing. So absolutely way more consultation now than there's ever been before.
In the future, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as there should be. I mean, it's their work, right? We can still be
for sure.
Yeah, we can still be.
Well, it's a personal expression, right? I mean, and it's something that's permanent. So, it's almost like an unusual relationship or marriage between the tattoo artist and the individual, because the individual is then showing your work to their friends and family, but they also have to be really proud of the image that you've drawn, because it says a lot about their personality, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about being in a Grow Your Biz board, because I know that there is a number of individuals. Some of them are hybrid boards where, you meet in person or you meet online. So tell me a little bit about how has that been advantageous to you in your business and meeting some of the other individuals on the board?
I didn't join Grow Your Biz until, I wish I knew what year this was before I got on the call. I apologize. I think it's been a few years for sure. I can't remember when I joined, but anyways, I wish I would have joined it earlier. I wish I would have joined the Grow Your Biz, like the first moment that I thought about starting my
entrepreneurship.
Yeah, like the incredible amount of support and understanding that doesn't exist anywhere else is phenomenal. It really is. And I hadn't realized how much I would come to need that group that I do now. And the reason why is because when you're an entrepreneur and you're a small business owner, nobody will ever understand the weight on your shoulders or the struggles you go through or the constant worry and stress or why you can't sleep at night, or even the wins, quite like another entrepreneur. You can talk to your friends and your family and your loved ones, and they, after a while, their eyes glaze over because they really don't even comprehend what you're talking about. And the I don't know, maybe the gravity isn't, they don't understand the gravity, but another entrepreneur does, and they do, and they get it. They totally get it. And to be able to have that kind of a sounding board, just with daily daily issues in your business that, again, friends and family, they just can't help you with. And it's not that they're not supportive. It's just because they don't know. They don't know the answer.
The level of understanding.
The
Yeah.
level of understanding is just not there. So like the ladies in my group are absolutely incredible. Holly's fantastic. Like she's probably one of the best people I've ever known in my life. And I mean, the support, even just to be able to just sit and talk and know that you're not alone, and that, because I feel like it's very, very easy to get into that mindset that you're the only one going through this, and you're the only one that's ever gone through this, and you're failing, and it can be very defeating being a business owner. So hearing other people's stories, it's good.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed with the advisory boards is that, you mentioned a few things like trust. You really begin to trust one another by sharing the dynamics of your individual businesses. And the thing that I found most valuable was, we all are in business. We all have our own, products and services that we're offering. We're very different, and yet we're the same.
Yes.
Right? So there's so many things that are similar amongst various different industries. And even though I'm sure there's no one else in your group who's a tattoo artist, but there's very similarities in, as a business owner, all kinds of other things that you share that, just through course, as you mentioned, through course of conversation, it becomes very supportive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. Like, I just truly and genuinely appreciate the support system that I get from Grow Your Biz, and that's why I've stuck with it. I know I've been with them for at least 4 years, if not longer. Like it's been a very long time, and I don't have any intention of leaving. I look forward to it. Sometimes I can't.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's fantastic.
It's a win-win.
They're great, and the content because we get guest presenters and stuff like that come in to talk about various topics and stuff like that. Yeah. So the content is always changing as well. So it's great.
So one of the things I know that you had mentioned in your bio is mentorship is obviously really important to you. I mean, that's, I'm sure, the reason why you started the school, not only as another revenue stream, but also to mentor other people into your industry. So what we do in the Share Your Story series is we ask folks to share 3 words of advice. And your 3 words are consistency, adaptability, and tenacity. So tell me a little bit about why you would share those words with other entrepreneurs.
Okay, so the first one was consistency, and based off of my prior business and corporate experience and training, I was always taught that customers are habitual, and if the moment you start varying your business, or they'll give you 3 tries, and after that they're gone, essentially. Right. So my mom actually is my manager at my shop. So I work with my mom every day. Every day.
That's kind of cool.
It's good. It's good. No, like 9 out of 10 days, it's great. So she's fantastic. And she's been there with me since day one as well. But, when we first started the shop, it was, they were kind of irritated with me because I made them stay there and there was no business at all. So you're twiddling your thumbs. There's nothing to do. And I said, no, we have to stay open. We have to stay open. Right. And so eventually it did pay off, because then people started to know that we were there. So I think that, being consistent shows stability, and that, for your customers, and that's really who it matters to, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The second one is adaptability. You can't hold so tightly to what you think your business was supposed to be, because I had an idea of what my business was supposed to be at the start, and then it's not that anymore. Like it's my tattoo shop, right? It's changed, and being able to let go of those preconceived ideas of what your business was supposed to be, and then being able to, I guess, recognize that the need for change, and then being able to adapt to it and execute those changes when they're necessary. So adaptability, absolutely, especially in the ever-changing market. And climate, COVID, whether it's COVID or not, like it changes constantly, right? Yeah. And then the last one is tenacity. I said in a Shell Livewire mentorship program that I used to tell my son, and Holly really liked this phrase, but I used to tell my son, like, if the door doesn't open, then just bust a hole in the wall and make your own door. So essentially that's what tenacity means to me is in business. Sometimes you can't take no for an answer. Sometimes you got to find another route. Because at the end of the day, support is fine. But at the end of the day, if you're the business owner, it's all on your shoulders and you got to find a way. So absolutely, you need to make a way. You need to find a way regardless of what that is and what it looks like. And sometimes it's not the ideal way, but if it's a way, essentially. So.
Well, I really want to thank you for spending some time with us today. I was so looking forward to, I find your industry so fascinating. I certainly found your bio incredibly interesting. And the fact that I think you really are tenacious because you've been a maverick, it sounds like, for most of your life. And being able to open doors is really a skill. And you've been able to do that with a great deal of success. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing some of your journey with us today.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you today.
To our viewing and listening audience, I want to thank you for joining us in another edition of Business Mentorship, Keepin It Real. And to those of you who are interested in Grow Your Biz, in the description portion of this particular video, there'll be all the contact information. And if you have a story that you would like to share as part of our platform, please join us at shareyourstories.online. Thank you so much.